you know, how at Columbia they say the math is a white man's, the gender is a construct made by white men to control people, right? And the same thing is math is racist, is made by white men to control people. And literally reminded of my North Korean lecture. And one of my first like times when I was going to school, my teacher were telling me one day, like, what is 1 plus 1? And I was not a good student, but this I knew. I was like 2. And my teacher would tell me wrong. Why am I wrong? It's like, you add 1 drop of water and add another drop of water. What does that become? Becomes a bigger one. It does not become 2. That's how my dear little Kim Jong-il as a child proved that math was like made by white men. It was not logical. And this exact same nonsensical thing were being taught at the Ivy League school at Columbia by a most educated professor can imagine. How math is made up by the white men to control people. And I'm like, do you know? So in some ways, I think they don't even know themselves. Like the same ideology drove North Korea to this is like same driving themselves even. They don't understand how similar they are, how ridiculous themselves are right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem here is twofold, and this is something I really noticed over the last few years when all these various nations and states and cities became very, very tyrannical with their whole COVID response. I think the reason why a lot of people in the West can easily slip into that is because of sort of two fallacies. I think number one, people always think this can't happen here. You hear about China, you hear about North Korea, you hear about certain things that have happened in the Middle East or certain parts of Africa or whatever, and people think that can't happen here. Like that can't happen here. Where this is America, this is the UK, this is France, this is Germany, whatever it is, that can't happen here. And then I think number two is people always think it can't go that far, right?
Yeah.
So even right now, we know how far it can go because you come from a country where it's gone that far and where it's been that far for many decades at this point. But people also think it won't go that far. So if you're on stage 2, then people don't think that stage 5 is even possible. It seems it's too far. Like, no, maybe it'll get to stage 3, but it won't get to stage 7. And then suddenly you're in stage 6 and it's like, oh no, okay, well, we can't get to stage 10. So I think that type of lack of vigilance is how people can fall into these things. And they don't really realize when it's happening until it's never too late to do something about, but the longer you leave it, the harder it becomes to push back. If you've gotten so used to censoring yourself all the time, you've gotten so used to hiding your identity or not speaking up when you see something, then once you program yourself to do that, then it becomes hard to generate the courage when you actually need it. I consider both cowardice and courage habits, right? They're not just things they're things you practice every single day, right? Every single day that you're out there, you're speaking online, offline, you're doing all you do, you're cultivating that courage habit. I imagine for you, courage isn't even something that you need to psych yourself up for, right? It's just, it's your default setting, right? Your default setting is to speak out and to speak up and say what you think is right and call attention to the things that you think need attention called to. For someone who has spent the last 10 years avoiding that and not doing it, then when they want to do it, they actually find oftentimes that they really struggle to because they haven't practiced. They got so used to always taking the path to avoid the conflict, the path to, path of least resistance, that actually when it comes time to speak up, they're even more scared now. And they think, oh, no, I can't do it. And then they want to kind of hide and leave other people to do it. And I think this is what's leading to a lot of the sort of modern current madness. Is I don't think it's so much that most people are brainwashed or most people don't know what's going on or whatever. I just think that people are afraid. There's this chill, and I'm starting to see the chill thawing. I think that the pendulum is starting to swing back. I'm starting to see more and more people compared to, say, 2017 or 2018. I'm seeing more people who are willing to stick their head up and speak out about certain issues. And I think that's good. And I think that someone like yourself, massive respect to you, because I think it's not just important for yourself and the things you're drawing attention to, I think it's important because it sets an example for other people. Other people can look at your courage and bravery and see how you're moving, and it encourages them to go, oh, okay, wow, there's this young woman out there who went through all this and is still out there and speaking and what, like, okay, I can do a little bit more, surely, right?
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
You're
I
welcome.
mean, I really hope that's like, I think outside of college campuses, it seems definitely like throwing effect, or maybe, but I don't, that's the thing, like, myself, I listen to like NPR and BBC every day, and it just doesn't seem like they're getting any sane every day. You know, it gets worse and worse. So it's very hard. It seems like you're getting more divided. But I think because also I live in New York City,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
where you say you live in Austin, right? I'm sure at least Austin's
I
a little bit.
I'm in Austin right now. I actually don't live anywhere. I just travel all the time.
Oh, I
So I'm
see.
yeah, I'm always in different cities and different countries. So
Yeah.
I've been to New York City. I think I went there twice last year. But
Oh,
I go all over the USA. I've recently been to the UK, Dubai, Australia, Mexico. Like I've been to
wow.
a lot of different places, and I'm going to be in Qatar next
Oh,
month, and then
wow.
South Africa and Nigeria. So I'm having a lot of conversations with a lot of people in a lot of different
Right.
places, and what is interesting is you do. Oftentimes, I'll be in very different countries, and you have people have the same concerns. A lot of people have the same
Interesting.
concerns, whether you're in Australia or in the USA
Mm-hmm.
or in the UK. People have the same, all the stuff that we're talking about. People
Mm-hmm.
are expressing the same worries, 10,000
Wow.
miles away. So, especially after the last few years that we've just lived
Right.
through, where, countries were shutting down and people were forced in their houses, and you basically had this, dictatorship in many cities, in many parts. I mean, I don't know if you saw what happened in Australia. I mean,
Yeah.
it was crazy. So it was interesting going over there and talking to people who experienced that.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, their country was they turned into into a mini CCP state for multiple years. So yeah, I don't know. I think that people take liberty for granted often, and I think
Hmm.
that because of your story, you're absolutely not someone who would ever do that.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I have a son now, and I always say, I cannot imagine the world without America. I think with all its flaws that America has, still this country stands up for individual liberty.